What's going on, guys? So big question here. What do I like better about the Q50 than the 335? Well, this should be super easy. Like, how about the fact that it actually runs? Seriously, let's take a gander here. So I'm just sitting here in the Q50 making some comparisons of all the things that I like about the Q50 better than the 335. And you know, there's got to be so many things, right? Like and how about the but really, in all honesty, it is pretty difficult to compare apples to apples, right? We're talking about a 335 that's going on 13 years old and a Q50 that's just 5 years old. So you'd expect in the Q50 some, additional modern upgrades, right? Some creature comforts. You'd expect some upgraded features in terms of technology, or some more interior enhancements, a little bit fancier gauge cluster, for example, or you'd expect some modern touches on your door trims and whatnot. But I want to seriously take a closer detailed look, comparing the two as best we possibly can, with keeping that idea in mind that we're comparing vehicles that are 10 years apart in age difference, and talk about what I do like about this Q50 better than the 335. Of course, I like the steering wheel better, but we can't really include that because this is an aftermarket steering wheel from Jalisco's Carbon Fiber on Instagram. Check them out if you haven't already. You need to get yourself one of these custom steering wheels for a Q50 or 370Z. What he's got, the number of offerings he has is unbelievable. So check him out on IG. You might find something you like. I very rarely use anything in this area. I don't have navigation, but if I did, I'd never use it. I very rarely have the radio turned on or play any type of music. I like how my exhaust sounds, for example. But this is a really modern looking setup. It's unfortunate that not much has changed between 2014 and 2017 and 18. But it is modern for the 2015. This looked pretty good when this car came out. So I do like the looks of this. I wish... It's so hard for me to say that I wish the BMW had something more like this, because I really don't care that much about it. But it does look nice. There's something about the simplicity of the BMW, but there's not a whole lot going on here. Again, we know this is a 2007, and your CD player and push buttons is a little dated. So I do like the Q50 center area, although there are a lot of similarities kind of in design and how it's set up. There's not a whole lot you can do with the shifter, but just taking a glance at the interior, I will say that's probably one feature I do like about the Q50 better than the 335, the paddle shifters. I like the size of the Q50 paddle shifters. And actually, I wasn't sure. I always thought my preference would be having paddles that are on the steering wheel itself, so they would follow the wheel around. But I'm finding that driving the two, I prefer the paddles to be mounted on the steering column and stay fixed. It's almost like I always know where they are. And if you are flying around corners or taking tight turns or whatnot, or even just going around a corner at an intersection and the wheel is turning more than a quarter of a turn, I don't like having to track the paddle shifters down on the wheel. I like to know that I can just bring my hand down and hit the one on the column. So I'll say that's something that I like better. Actually, I don't mind the door trim on the 335, but the door panels in the Q are actually one of my favorite interior design features. I just think they look so sleek. Some people don't really like the texture on the hard pieces of trim, but I like it. I'm not a huge carbon fiber fan, but this doesn't look like carbon fiber, but it's not just some boring plain piece of door trim. And I do like the contours of these silver pieces. It's not flat. There's a little bit of texture, but it's not overly done. It looks very sleek and modern, and I think Infiniti did a good job designing some of these interior features. The seats are bogus in the non-sport, but the door trim looks good. And I really like these vertical diagonal leather panels, the tri-panels here above the armrest. I think that's a kind of a subtle little sophisticated accent. I like it, and that is a dope shot right there. Now this was silver from factory. There are a couple of different interior options for the 335 of this year. I had the silver. I do like the carbon fiber vinyl wrap here. I think it's a nice little accent, and it kind of goes well with the color scheme of this car, but you can tell the door itself of the 335 is really, really basic. I mean, there is some texture and some contours, some plastic bit. Well, no, that is vinyl. It's all vinyl. I guess it's decent quality. No hard plastic, which is good, except for this little trim piece here, which I'm not really sure what purpose it serves. But compared to the Q50, this is not as sophisticatedly designed. The Q50 door panel trim is much nicer than the 335. The Q50 headlights are way more aggressive in their design. Prefer these on the Q way better. There just really isn't a whole lot special about the BMW headlights. Sticking with the front end, Q50 fog lights and lower grille, much better on the Q than the BMW. We are replacing the fog lights, but they're just bland and boring in design, as well as the lower grills. It just kind of, you know, early 2000s in style. I'm really into simplicity, if you haven't learned that about me already. So I don't mind the BMW mirrors, but if we're comparing the two, Q50 mirrors, much more interesting styling, much more unique. Definitely prefer the Q50 mirrors. Well, the BMW Straight 6 is a really cool engine, and knowing how much power the M54 can handle, you really can't blow your nose at it, but there is something special about the VQ37. Now, some people will argue with you and tell you that it's dated, or try to talk smack and say, well, you can only make 330, 340 horsepower with it. But you know what? A naturally aspirated engine that can sound this good, and you can still pull 340, 345 horsepower to the wheels out of it with a few bolt-ons and a tune. It's hard to beat it, especially knowing that, knock on wood, every time you get in this thing, it fires up and it runs like it should. I kind of think of it like this. If somebody posed the question to you and they said you had to pick a daily driver, but you had to take it to the track, either autocross, road course, or drag strip every other weekend for an entire year, which one would you choose? 335 M54 or VQ37? For as comfortable and as refined as a BMW is, I think I'd have to take the VQ37 Q50, just because, you know, well, for one thing, it's going to cost you a hell of a lot less over that year to maintain and run, especially if you're taking it to the track on a regular basis. But the Q is almost as comfortable. It has some of the more modern touches to it, modern flares. It's got plenty of power. It's going to get you where you need to go, and you're still going to have a lot of fun with it on the track. No, you might not be outrunning a bunch of V8s, or maybe you will. And you're not going to be able to push as much power. Sure, you can get 450, 500 horsepower out of the M54 relatively easily, but how often are you going to be able to enjoy it knowing how relatively unreliable they are? And don't get me wrong, with proper maintenance and upkeep, you can make almost any vehicle reliable, right? But just the way these things are, how fussy they are and how finicky they are, even having your spark plug gap off just a little bit can make this thing buck and jump and jolt and misfire. So if you're thinking about it in this scenario that I've posed, having this car as a daily driver and then taking it to a track, how comfortable are you going to be running it multiple passes at a drag strip on a Sunday or a Thursday afternoon, and then park the car in the driveway, get in and fire it up on a Friday morning or a Monday morning? Is it going to run how it ran the night before? I don't know, but with the VQ, you can almost guarantee it. For all you VQ guys that are watching, let me know in the comment section what you like over the of the Q50 or VQ37 in general over the BMW 335i. And if we got any BMW guys watching, let me know why you like the BMW better than the VQ or the other way around. I'm interested to hear your input. appreciate you guys watching. This is kind of a fun little video to make. I'll probably be making a what do I like about the BMW more than the Q50 coming up here shortly. Thanks for watching. Appreciate the support. See you in the next video.